What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. We have just received some massive news. There are going to be tons of updates going live on Season of Discovery Realms starting next week on March 5th. This was a massive blue post by Agrand himself. So without further ado, guys, let's dive in. So to start off, he says, "Greetings, the WoW Classic team wanted to take a moment to dig into a few adjustments we plan to make next week, as well as share some details about how the next few phases of Season of Discovery will handle endgame rating and our thought process around this." The first section of this post is XP buff and leveling, and it reads, "When we first concepted Season of Discovery, we knew we wanted alts to be a major fixture of the experience, and so we decided to add an XP buff, Discoverer's Delight, into previous level bands at the beginning of each phase, which we've now seen. We have the 50% XP buff from levels 1 through 25, and as most of us thought this was going to progress as a new phase comes out, the previous phase would then also have the XP buff, but it changes right here. Let's continue reading. "This is great for existing characters that were not yet at the current level cap or where new characters created after the phase changes, but if you went into phase 2 with several characters at 25 already, it can be a little daunting to level them right now," which I completely agree. I'm leveling my rogue, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, but to be completely honest, the 25 to 40 grind is a lot harder than the 1 to 25 grind. So let's keep reading. "We've been considering ways to help with this over the past several days, and we've made adjustments to our existing plans. Starting next week, March 5th, with maintenance, the Discoverer's Delight XP buff will be enabled on all realms, increasing XP gain from levels 1 to 39 by 100%, up from 50%. So they're doubling the XP buff and allowing the XP buff to take you all the way to level 39. And then they stated, "We have always intended to increase Discoverer's Delight to 100% buff from 1 to 39 when Phase 3 launches, so this merely is moving the change forward from the start of the next phase to a midpoint of this current phase." But that's not all here. "Alongside Discoverer's Delight adjustments, we'll also be reducing the cost of normal racial mounts and mount training by roughly half at level 40. We do not have changes planned for epic mounts at 60 at this time." So I'm assuming that those prices that we all saw before the phase launched, remember when we were like, oh wow, you're gonna be able to get your mount for around 40 gold, that's most likely where it's gonna drop down to, so that's gonna be nice. Big sad for all of us who did buy our mount at full price, but hey, I'll take it. It's going to be easier to get our mounts on alts, right? "Lastly, we will also be increasing the base gold reward from all quest rewards while players are level 1 through 39. Please note that this bonus gold will not be in effect at level 40, meaning this will not impact the XP to gold conversion for quests completed at the current max level. This will help equalize things and make questing while leveling a bit more lucrative, which will help players with things like purchasing new skills and buying their mount, since they will be already leveling twice as fast." I think this is a massive improvement right here as well. There's some incentive now to quest. You can actually make the gold necessary to purchase these things, right? Even if they doubled it or even tripled it, it's going to make a massive difference, because right now there was kind of no incentive to questing over just spamming Scarlet Monastery. And to be completely honest, spamming Scarlet Monastery is why it's so hard to level an alt, because in my opinion, that was exhausting. Doing that so fast, and like now if you quest, you're gonna be able to make some more gold, you're gonna be getting 100% XP buff, your mount's only gonna be like 40-50 gold. I think these are some really good changes, but there's so much more in this post, so let's keep on reading. "Going forward, we are also looking at leveling adjustments for when phase 3 launches and the level cap raises to 50. We'd also like to continue to make mid-phase adjustments like this to help smooth over the leveling curve for alts a bit, or help those leveling a bit slower to get that nudge over the finish line. We think alts are great, and we want you to feel good about playing them, and we think this will help." And I can't agree more. Blizzard, Agrand, bravo. This was a much needed change. I think Season of Discovery is just, it's awesome for alts because people want to play all these different classes and test out all these runes, test out all these new abilities. There's constant class tuning, right? So you want to jump to alts that are, this week they're really good, and then maybe next week they're not so good, so you jump to this alt. I think it'll just make that experience so much more fun for people, right? To be leveling at a faster pace, making more gold, having a cheaper mount. So I completely agree with all these changes, and this is really awesome. So the next section of this post is raid size at level 60, and there's some juicy information in here, so let's get reading. Recently, a hot topic of debate is the raid size at level 60, and we've been watching the commentary on this closely. To help quell the confusion, here's a look at exactly what to expect in the next few phases in terms of raid size. The yet-to-be-announced level 50 raid will be a 20-player experience, so we don't know what the level 50 raid is going to be yet, but we know it's going to be a 20-player raid. Molten Core will also be a 20-player raid in Season of Discovery. That is massive. This is pretty crazy because Molten Core was originally designed for a 40-man raid team, right? So changing this to a 20-player experience kind of hints at the fact that they are going to be redoing at least some of the mechanics and bosses inside the Molten Core instance, which I think is awesome. Again, great job there, Blizzard. Thank you, Agrin, for letting us know this. This has been something that we've all been talking about now since this was even announced, since before Phase 1 even started. We've been wondering what was going to happen to those classic raids, so thank you for clarifying. For a bit of background, when we first concepted Season of Discovery, we felt that it was perfectly natural for a version of original World of Warcraft to have 40-player raids. This is partially because the development time needed to scale them was not planned within the scope of what we set out to accomplish on the aggressive schedule we have, but mostly because 40-player raids felt like such a defining characteristic of original WoW and are utterly unique to this version of the game. It wasn't really even in consideration to eschew them entirely. When we set out to create our level up raids, however, we did feel that asking people to field 40 players would be a tall ask at level 25. We wanted these first few raids to be somewhat easy to form pickup groups for as well. As a result, we decided on 10-player experiences instead for the first 2 level up raids. As we've played the game ourselves and watched how players approach community building, we've realized that we've set some communities up to potentially struggle a bit by asking them to recruit up from 1 or 2 10-player raid groups to a full 40, should they choose to. As a result, we wanted to make it clear now what our plans are to start bridging from 10-player raids to higher raid sizes. While overhauling all 40-player raids down to 20 would be theoretically possible, this may be prohibitively difficult and detract significantly from other features and content we have planned to implement in post-60 Season of Discovery. Post-60 meaning content after we're already level 60. Interesting right there. We are doing some investigation now to help us understand what would be needed and what the framework of the original WoW data can support in this regard. There are some features that just cannot currently exist in original WoW as well, such as flex rating, so we are constrained in exactly what we are able to do here. Molten Core is definitely unique here in that it is simple enough mechanically and under the hood that it would be relatively easy to pare down to a 20-player experience. And I agree, I think at first, I was like, man, we need 40-player raids, we need 40-player raids. But it seems like we still may get some 40-player raids towards the end, but they're going to just turn things like Molten Core into 20-player raids. And to be completely honest, I think this might be the best way to do it, right? These are 10-player guilds right now. Next phase, we're getting a 20-player raid, so we're going to have our 20-player raid sizes. It only makes sense to just jump into Molten Core being a 20-player raid as well. You get to raid with those same people. You don't have to do any extra recruiting. Guilds that have 4, 10-player raid groups going right now, like my guild, shouldn't struggle at all. You can just combine, raid group 1 and 2 and raid group 3 and 4, and boom, you're good to go. So let's jump into the next section of this post. This section is itemization changes at level 60. One thing we've also not talked about yet is our thoughts around level 60 endgame rewards and the very significant changes we have planned there. And that may also be a key piece of context missing to help illustrate our philosophy on different raid sizes in Season of Discovery. We currently plan to revamp many items from dungeons and raids, including the existing 20-player raids at level 60, as well as adding new items across all phases of endgame. We have a ton of exciting playstyles that are new or were traditionally seen as off-specs that have been given life in Season of Discovery and will come into their full power at 60. We want to itemize well for as many different builds and playstyles as we are able to in the time we have. We currently also have plans to make adjustments to the difficulty of all raids as well as the power level of rewards available. This does not mean making raids harder or easier across the board relative to player power, but looking individually at each experience and defining what those experiences are about and what their purpose is. A theoretic example they're giving here is a raid that may have traditionally been considered to be catch-up raids, such as Zul'Gurub, could see adjustments that bring their challenge level up slightly, but also greatly increase the quality and diversity of the rewards so that they feel like a viable progression path alongside other current content in that phase, such as Blackwing Lair. On the flip side, we also wanted to make sure that any 40-player raids that exist remain approachable, and that they maintain that soda and pretzels feel of 2019 classic raiding, where you could bring almost any group composition or experience level and have success. And then they state, ultimately, we recognize that not knowing what's coming can be a cause for anxiety. We also recognize that we set out to create, and the audience we created it for have grown and evolved in the short time since we announced Season of Discovery. It's also difficult for players outside of our development process to understand what the true endgame is for SOD without us being extremely specific. But it is a bit too soon to really share the nitty-gritty details on every aspect of the level 60 endgame. Some things are still in concept, and other things will change based on other future learnings and where your feedback takes us. We want to arrive at a place where, ideally, if your guild wants to strictly stick to a smaller raid team of 20 people, the rewards are compelling enough that you don't feel behind a team focused on 40-player raiding. So this was a massive post. We just got so much information. I feel overloaded, but I also feel extremely happy, right? These are so many things we've been wondering. So things that have been confirmed here is we are going to have 40-player raids. We are going to have 20-player raids starting with the next phase. Raids like Molten Core are going to be converted to a 20-player raid. But like they just said in that last part right there, 40-player raids and 20-player raids aren't going to be that different. They want the people that want to stay in 20-player raid scenes to be competitive with 40-player. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But nonetheless, that's pretty awesome. Tons of itemization changes. So that means they're going to be changing the loot in all of these raids. Like they said, the example they gave was Zul'Gurub, maybe not being a catch-up raid anymore. Maybe it's going to be the 20-player version of doing like a 40-person Blackwing lair, right? And the gear in ZG scales up quite a bit, like they were saying in there. That is awesome. The XP adjustments, being able to level characters double as fast now with the XP buff going all the way to level 39. I know myself personally, now I'm going to level a ton of alts, when before I was like, I'll do like maybe 2 40s for this phase and then maybe I'll take a break. But now I'm like, okay, I'm excited. Mounts are going to be like 40, 50 gold. Going to be able to get your mount super easy on alts. So a lot of information here, guys, a lot to process. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It really does help me out a lot. And subscribe to the channel. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next time I post a video. And if you want to hang out with me live, I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/hammerdance. I'll drop a link to that in the description below this video. And if you want to join an awesome community Discord full of like-minded people who all enjoy geeking out over Season of Discovery, we will welcome you with open arms. Link in the description as well to the Discord. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.